Now, this is the last weekend of the campaign, and there is one vital issue to decide. Namely, have we the strength and authority behind our foreign policy and our diplomacy to keep and preserve peace and perform it in the future. Now, when I talk about strength, I mean economic strength as well as strategic strength, and I'm going to say a word about both. We have kept the economy so strong, and so much have we increased our prosperity, that we have been able to treble, that is to increase 3 times, the help to the poorer nations of the world. If we can help the poorer nations, we shall not be able to deal with the trouble, the famine, the disease, and the consequent spread of communism which may result between the richer and the poorer nations. This problem of the richer nations and the poorer nations is just as important as the problem of East-West relations, which I discussed when I was in Moscow. The other. They respect us because of our strength, and it is the fact that we have our own nuclear deterrent which has given our voice that extra strength and which has kept the peace between us. Now, this question of keeping our own nuclear deterrent is the vital issue I want you to decide, and you will decide own independent nuclear weapon. I am convinced without it that we cannot keep the peace through strength. I am convinced that our voice will not be strong enough in the future negotiations which we want to undertake. We want to try and stop the spread of nuclear weapons. We want to make further we shall hope to keep the peace through strength.
Yes, strength, economic strength. This is the condition of all that we want to do abroad or at home. And in these years of conservative government, the new workshops, production is at record levels, employment is full, earnings have never been so high. The steel industry that Mr. Wilson wants to nationalize has just recorded record levels of output and of exports. We have launched on a bold policy of exports. And I do not wish for one moment to minimize the difficulties, because nothing that is worth doing in this world is really achieved without effort. But the question is, which party's policy is more likely to solve the real problem, the real and urgent problem which I told you about at the can only be more enterprise, more competition, accepting new ideas, grasping change, sweeping away all restrictions on output and efficiency. This is the way of progress. This is the way to achieve the objective, the bold, ambitious party. I must say to you quite frankly as Chancellor that their policies would be as disastrous as their speeches are damaging. Many of the wild exaggerations put about by some of their leading speakers positively contribute to making our problems more difficult. We are at the moment borrowing might borrow from its bank, just as every big country in Europe and North America has done in recent years. And yet the Labour Party prefer to sneer at Britain alone for doing what every other country does. And then there are policies. Nationalisation. They don't say nationalisation of what? Our export trade. And then there is their programme of expenditure, a programme which they know perfectly well. It goes far beyond what any responsible party could possibly promise to the British people. That, perhaps, is why they won't answer the question, what will their programme cost? We've asked how much their programme would cost you. Why don't they? There can only be one of two reasons. Either they do not know, or they will not tell. Whichever it is, it seems to me, whichever the reason, this makes their programme wholly unacceptable to the people of this country. Our programme, on the other hand, is worked out and costed in detail.
To build more and faster, we must use new methods as well as old. This year, 25,000 homes are being built in new ways. Here are 200 in a brand new British labour-saving building system. Are living in houses built or modernized since we came to power. We've cleared half the slums. Nearly half the houses in the country are owner-occupied. Nearly 3/4 of the houses in the country are modern or modernized. A larger proportion of houses in Britain have bathrooms, lavatories, hot water than in any European country except Switzerland. We'll complete 370,000 houses, more for councils, more for owner-occupiers. And from now on, we're building through non-profit making housing societies scores of thousands of fine houses which can be got for a deposit of about £150. There are 430,000 houses now under construction. We'll complete confidence trick. They try to give the impression that they do more, but their target is 400,000, the same as ours, copied from us, the target we shall reach next year. They propose not a single extra house, not a single extra house, and their cockeyed land commission would slow down the vital supply. Labour's land commission would mean fewer houses being built than now.
If you're a young couple, you'll want to know that a house will be available for you in a reasonable time, that there will be schools for your children, and technical colleges and universities for them to go to after that. Increasing pensions growing with the prosperity of the country. All this is part of a modern Britain. And the decision which the nation will have to make on polling day is this: which party can best get on with the job of creating the modern Britain which we all want to see? I have absolutely no doubt about the answer. Are there for you to see. Our programs can do this in the future. Our prosperity, of course, must be based on our industry, an industry which is modern, re-equipped, using automation and the latest mechanical devices. An industry which is well trained, making the best use of scientists and with good management. Exports which are so vital to us. I do not believe that this can be done under Labour Party policy, a policy which is backward-looking, a party which is subject to all the pressures of vested interests, a party and a policy which is tied to nationalisation. And there are two things which I value about and to plan your lives in your own way, and a genuine opportunity to make tomorrow always better than today, for yourselves and for your children.
The decision whether we keep or abandon control over moreover, a decision which, once taken, will be irrevocable. I speak to you tonight as the Secretary of State for Defense, the man responsible for this field of policy. And I'm bound to tell you that this is a major issue between the Conservatives on the one hand, who wish to keep these weapons, holding my responsibility this evening as Secretary of State for Defense, and asked yourselves the direct question, should we keep these weapons or abandon them? You would answer, keep them. And that would be the overwhelming answer of the people of this country. And that's why the socialists have covered the whole of this problem with a great deal of what I can only describe as intellectual sludge. They pretend that it won't deter. I must tell you, when I speak of what I know, that one V-bomber today on a single mission can carry in destructive power more than was carried by the whole of the Royal Air Force in the whole of the last war. Or they pretend that it will bear too heavily on our total costs. Said that if we could only set an example and cast our own arms away, others would follow suit. I can assure you that if we abandoned them tomorrow, it wouldn't have the slightest effect on General de Gaulle or Mao Zedong or anybody else. Or they ask the sort of trick question, when would you strike with this weapon? Politics is power, not simply military power, but power and influence in the world. It's the conservative belief that we should use power wisely, sensibly, and with restraint. Keep it, hold it, even with humility, but not cast aside a weapon or abandon our influence.
That was an election broadcast on behalf of the Conservative and Unionist Party.